I understand that the WWE and wrestling as a whole, by and large, only gets mainstream exposure primarily for two reasons. One, because a wrestler dies, or two, because of some type of charitable work that the WWE might be doing. And that gets them some cheap mentions on this show or appearances on that show and what have you. Sadly, though, that mainstream exposure, by and large today, does not come from the product itself, meaning it's not earned via the product itself. It's either, again, because of wrestlers dying or because of some type of charitable cause like Tribute to the Troops or, in this month of October, Susan G. Komen and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I get that the WWE desperately is desiring and flat out wants and needs as many avenues of potential exposure to the mainstream as possible. They want, more eyeballs, more mainstream eyeballs, because that's better for the product. I don't dispute that. I understand that. And I completely agree with it in theory. That is important. That's how you grow your fan base. That's how you grow your audience. That's your best pathway to potentially get more money, is to go get more eyeballs in general and more casual type of mainstream eyeballs specifically onto your product and your company. This has been a pathway to great success for the WWE over the years in the Hogan era, in the Attitude Era. Those two eras really stand out. It was a time where they did a tremendous job in this. It was like the WWE was everywhere. It was as cool as anything possibly out there. Not so much today. So again, understand the need, the desire, the want to get more eyeballs on the product. What I can't get, though, is why the WWE thinks that one of the best ways to do that is with Total Divas. Now look, all the people over the years that have made fun of wrestling being fake and wrestling being corny and hokey and all of that, my simple counter to them is, and you watch reality shows. Shut the fuck up. You have no room to talk. You want to talk about hokey. You want to talk about corny. You want to talk about fake. You want to talk about stupid. All these reality shows that you see today, for the most part, clearly fit into that category. It's one of the reasons why TV in general is so bad today. Sure, you have those shows that are kind of like those shining beacons of hope, but they're too far and few in between. They really, really are. And you look at Total Divas, and I'm all for the ladies of WWE getting more exposure, getting more attention, and getting more focus, and potentially new pathways to earning themselves more money. I'm not hating on you girls. Do what you got to do. But to me, you don't push and advocate for those things or push and advocate those things specifically over your actual core competency, over your actual product, its freaking self. Because here's what I don't get. You've got Raw, that even in its worst weeks in terms of ratings, is still getting 3.5, 4.5 million viewers consistently, week in and week out, consistently. And here's a show like Total Divas that gets literally about a fourth, a quarter of the fucking audience that Raw does on an entirely different network on E! So you're talking about a Raw, let's say, that gets 4 million viewers. Total Divas now is lucky to get 1 million. Now, if I'm looking at this, I'm saying, hey, maybe we need to promote Total Divas a little bit more. We need to get more interesting things going on there to grow the audience there. Fine. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of the show that is my primary breadwinner, that is my most important foray into weekly, nightly, primetime television. The show that is the backbone, pretty much, of my entire core competency operation. I am not taking this show that is lucky to get 1 million viewers in a single week and trying to force it down people's throats more so than the show that does 4 million damn viewers. Because all you're doing is negating yourself. You're taking this show here and trying to promote it on this show here. You're not growing your audience. You're not getting new eyeballs. You're just trying to siphon more people away that are already watching this to watch this. And if that's what you have to do to get an audience, if that's what you have to do to grow your viewership of Total Divas, maybe it's time to revisit whether or not this is actually working the way it's intended and the way that it's supposed to and should be working. The whole purpose of Total Divas is not to get 1 million of your viewers from Raw to watch this as well. That's the cheap short-term fix. That's the shortcut way to have another primetime show. You would think that the whole point here would be to have maybe 500,000 to 1 million of these viewers over here come over to this and then find a way to bring in a few 100,000 new viewers that could come watch this and then, oh my God, be served up on a platter to eventually be forced to tune in, encouraged to tune in, engaged enough to tune in to find out what these girls do on Raw. The whole structure of this, the whole flow of this is completely fucking ass backwards. We're seeing now on WWE television multiple segments pushing the girls of Total Divas every single week. Not because it's making for good television, but because we're trying to prostitute and whore out the fact that they're on freaking Total Divas. You're not building a Divas division with multiple interesting feuds, with character development and progression up and down the card and doing all these type of things to actually try to make these women stars. You're just sitting there and throwing Eva Marie and fucking Cameron into tag matches on Raw and saying, hey, this is our reminder, our 5-minute promo plug segment where we just talk about fucking Total Divas and all the stupid ass crap that we're doing on there. We're taking time, precious prime time. And I don't care what to be in a 3-hour Raw every week. It's still precious prime time television slot. That's 3 hours the WWE gets every Monday night. And they still do, even if it's not nearly as good as it used to be, they still do a solid cable television rating on Monday night. You are taking that precious television time and devoting it to a show that gets, if it's lucky, a third, but more likely than not, usually a quarter of the fucking audience that this primary core competency, this flagship, this standard bearer of your freaking company, this Raw product gets. The stupidity of this is mind-blowing. You are putting a show out there and you're not growing your audience. In fact, your audience is still dwindling. The audience for that show is even still dwindling. So you've even sat there and tried to take just a bunch of these people over here and try to get them onto this, and you've even driven some of these people away. And all the while, you're not getting new eyeballs on the product. It's just ridiculous. This is just dumb. This is just stupid. And this is what the WWE does when they don't stick to their core competencies. When they try to think that they are better than what they are and that they know more than they really do, they give you WWE Studios. They give you the Times Square restaurant. Vince gives you the XFL. He gives you the Bodybuilding Federation, which was an excuse for middle-aged agents like Pat Patterson backstage to jack off to baby oil steroid freak muscle-bound men. And that was it. It was literally, that was a whole excuse for the Bodybuilding Federation. Was so that Vince and Pat could jack off to those guys. And that's it. And now we got Total Divas here. Ain't nobody jacking off to this shit. And I just can't even see, other than getting a little bit of money from me to put it on, and the fact that it doesn't cost you a whole lot to produce it, which is kind of the whole problem with reality television. The show could suck. It can be stupid on so many different levels. Fake as all get out. But since it costs a quarter or less to produce compared to some of these other shows, it's basically like wrestling. Every network wants it. They just don't want to pay a premium price for it. A lot of them don't want it because of the stigma attached, but they still wish they could get the ratings that come from the cheap production cost associated with a reality show like Total Divas. This is stupid, WWE. You're giving more camera time to people like Eva Marie and Cameron right now than you freaking are Bray Wyatt. You were featuring Brie and Nikki Bella as more vital components to your product than people like Cesaro and Dolph Ziggler. How ridiculous and fucking stupid is this? You're not getting new eyeballs on your product. You're utilizing precious primetime Monday night television time on a major network like USA to promote a show on another network that does a quarter of the viewership on a weekly basis. This Total Divas madness must stop. This needs to be the last season of this shit. I'm all for, again, the WWE featuring more of their women and trying to get more out of their ladies, because when they do that, that can be good for business. But they're going about it in an ass-backwards way. They're going about it flat out the wrong way. And what might have been and should have been, in my opinion, the original intention of Total Divas has totally not materialized whatsoever. Now it's just yet another thing that WWE has their hands into and they don't get and they don't fully understand. Now you're sitting there and taking people and trying to get them to go from watching one of your fake scripted programs to now going to one with a reality show label that everybody also assumes is fake and scripted, which in the way it comes across makes your product look even more ridiculous. You know, the product that is the primary backbone of what the fuck you've done all of these years, where you took a wrestling company and made it into, at one point in time, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. This Total Divas madness must stop. This is fucking stupid. Eva Marie gets more camera time than Zack Ryder. How ridiculous is that?